Hello friends, a very warm welcome to another session in which we are going to discuss a topic in mathematics, and the topic for today is compound interest. As we learned in the session for simple interest, that there are two types of interest which are charged on money or on a loan which is given to a person. One is simple interest, wherein it is charged flat equally for each of the years for the given duration. And the other is compound interest. Now, what is the difference? What is compound interest? Let's have a look. Now, we know that principal is P and rate of interest is represented by R, which is R% per annum. Time, which is represented by T years, and compound interest is represented by CI, and A is representing amount. Then, in that case, amount is equal to principal into 1 plus rate of interest, that is R by 100, raised to the time duration. Now, what is this amount? This is the amount which is obtained after a certain duration, such that the amount is inclusive of the principal as well as the compound interest. Now, if you want to find out only compound interest, in that case, you just need to follow the procedure. That is, compound interest is amount minus principal. Now, this, as you see, is the amount. From this, we will deduct the principal to get the compound interest. As I had explained, amount is nothing but it is cumulative, or it is sum of the principal amount and the compound interest earned over that. Now let us solve a simple question and see how we can apply these fundamentals to solve questions. Now, at 10% rate of interest compounded annually. So the value for R, or rate of interest, is 10%. This is given for 2 years. So the other data which is given to us is the time duration is 2 years. At a principal amount of rupees 1,000, so even principal is given to you as 1,000 rupees. What will be the amount received? So now we know that the formula for amount is A is equal to P 1 plus R by 100 raised to T. So R, T, and P. The value for each of these variables is given to us, which we just need to substitute in this formula. So let's do it. Principal is 1,000. 1 plus R, that is 10, that is 10% by 100 raised to 2. The duration is 2 years. Now, let's open this up. 1,000 into. Now, you don't have to cut these zeros. If you want, you can still do it. But this particular figure, whenever you take, you make sure that you do not cut the value for the rate of interest and try to balance it with the 100 which is given to you in the denominator. Why is it so? You would know in the questions which are going to follow that how we can calculate faster by not balancing out these numerators and denominators. Now, we know it is 1 plus 10 by 100, it should become 110 by 100 into another 110 by 100. Now you can go about cancelling these things. So 100, these two zeros removed. 100, these two zeros removed. So it is 10 into 11 into 11, which is 121. So the amount obtained here should be 1210. Now, had it been simple interest, now the difference we will see here. Principal is 1,000, let us say, and principal in this case also is 1,000. Rate of interest is 10% annual. Rate of interest is 10% annual. So, for the first year, simple interest obtained would have been 100 rupees. And for the first year, compound interest obtained will also be 100 rupees. So what I mean to say here is that the interest obtained after the first year is the same for both simple interest and compound interest, provided the rate of interest is same and the principal is same. So in the first year, simple interest and compound interest both are the same or they are equal. Now the amount obtained after the first year is 1100 in the case of simple interest, and the amount obtained in the case of compound interest is also 1100 at the end of the first year. Now, let's talk about the second year. In the second year, simple interest is again flat 100 rupees. It is going to be charged on the principal sum. Now the amount obtained is another 100 rupees added on to 1100. These two figures get added. So what we get is a 1200. But in the case of compound interest, in the second year, the compound interest that we will obtain will be on the amount of money that we get at the end of the previous year. At the end of the first year, through compound interest, we got 1100. Even in simple interest, we got 1100. Now this 10% will be charged, the rate of interest will be charged on this 1100. Now what is this 1100? It comprises of principal as well as the interest amount. So this 10%, which was supposed to be charged on principal, is also being charged on the compound interest that you received in the last year, unlike the case in simple interest. In simple interest, the rate of interest amounts to the same in each year of the given duration. Whereas in compound interest, interest is charged on the amount received or accrued at the end of the previous year. So 10% on 1100, which happens to be 110. So the amount that you get in this case is going to be 110 plus 1100, that is going to be 1210. This is exactly what we got here. So this is a difference. So you also see that at the end of 2 years, for all these particulars and information that is provided to us, the difference between the simple interest and compound interest is rupees 10. So you end up paying more interest if at all it is compounded annually, or else if at all you have invested at compound interest, your money grows much faster as compared to simple interest. So let's get a good grip on the basics here by solving some more questions. Now look at this question. What will be the compound interest obtained at a sum of rupees 1000 at 8% rate of interest compounded annually for 2 years? So compound interest is what we are supposed to find out. Sum is given to us here. So for the ease in calculation, we're keeping it as 1000 for this question. 8% rate of interest, so R is 8%. The time period is mentioned to you for 2 years. Now, what is compound interest? It is amount minus principal. So we know compound interest is amount minus principal. What is amount? It is P 1 plus R by 100 raised to T minus P. Now let's calculate this. So this is 1000. So 1 plus 8 by 100 raised to 2 minus 1000. Now what do we have here? I told you do not try to balance the numerator and denominator when it comes to this particular portion, R by 100. All right. So here it is given to you as 8 by 100. You could have very easily written this as 2 by 25, but not required. The reason, again, you will have to divide by 25, which is occurring in the denominator, and you'll try to balance out another numerator or another figure. What I'm trying to say here is, write it like this, 1000 into 108 by 100 into 108 by 100. minus 1000. Now do the cancellation part. This is how we do it. So this is gone, this is gone, this is gone, this is gone. So ultimately 108 into 108 is what we are left with. So it is 108 square. And as you know, 108 square, how do we calculate the squares which are more than 100 but near to 100? Now, as you know, 108, if I reduce 100 from it, the difference here is 8. So this is a shortcut. What do? For the first 3 digits, you take up the number for which you have to find out the square, and you add the difference back to it, this difference that you found out. The difference from 100, how much greater 108 is from 100, is 8 greater. So 108 plus 8, that is 116. And for the last 2 digits, you take the square of this difference, that is 8 square. How much is 8 square? That is 64. So quite easily you will find that this is 11664. And because this is divided by 10, so let me put a dot here. Minus 1000, this 1000. Alright. So taking the difference, it works out to be this 1 would balance with this 1. So we have 166.40 as a compound interest which gets paid, or which is obtained after 2 years. Now look at another question. If the rate of interest for the first, second and third year is R1%, R2%, R3%, that is, it is different. For the first year, it is R1%, it is R2% for the second year, and for R3%, there is a different figure for the rate of interest which is charged. Then the compound interest would be, well, different rate of interests. So obviously, you will need to calculate them separately. So this is the only difference from the previous formula that we have. And how do we apply this? Let's have a look at the question. Now, if the sum of rupees 1000 is given on loan at annual compound interest rate of 5% for the first year, 10% for the second year, 15% for the third year, then what will be the total compound interest obtained at the end of 3 years? So, we are aware of the formula. We just put it. This is your R1, this is R2, and this is R3. Now we know this is 105 by 100. We are aware this is 110 by 100. We are aware this is 115 by 100. So once again, I'm cancelling this 100 with these 2 zeros. This 0 gets cancelled with this, and this 0 cancels with this. So now what I'm basically left with is 105 into 11 into 115 divided by this 100 minus 1000. Now another short trick that I would like to take up here for the purpose of calculation. You have 105 into 115. Both these numbers you can multiply using the age-old method, but both these numbers are more than 100. This is more than 100 by plus 5. This is more than 100 by plus 15. So either you add 105 with 15 or 115 with 5 to get the first 3 digits, that is 120, and multiply these two, 5 and 15, which is 75. So what you get here is a 12075. But we still need to multiply this with 11. So as simple as that, 12075, and then once again 12075, because there would be a cross here, right? So 5, 2, 8, 2, 3, 1. So what you get here is 1, 3, 2, 8, 2, 5, because it is divisible by 100. See, in compound interest, you need to be good at calculations, because that's exactly where you will get stuck, and that's where your time will get wasted. So my suggestion is make use of these speed math tricks so that your calculations are much more faster and you are arriving at the answer in no time. Now, because this is divisible by 100, so a 0.25 minus 1000. So what you're left with here is this portion, that is 328.25. That is the compound interest obtained. Now let's have a look at this question. At 12% compound interest, so the rate of interest is given to you, R is 12%. Compounded annually for 2 years, so time duration is 2 years. How much will a sum of rupees 1,000 amount to? So principal is 1,000 rupees. What you need to find out is the amount. Now we know that amount is principal into 1 plus R by 100 raised to T. Now how much is the principal? It is given to you as 1,000. 1 plus 12 by 100 raised to 2. Now once again, as I told you, do not try to balance this 12 and 100. Don't try to cut them. So this is 1,000 into 112 by 100 into 112 by 100. Now 112 square. That's what we are supposed to find out. As I told you in the previous question, 112, if you want to find out its square, you know that this is a number which is near to 100 but greater than 100. By how much? By 12. That is the difference. So to 112, we will add back this 12, get 124, and then we will take 12 square. Now 12 square happens to be 144. This is how you're going to write down 144. So this 1 and 4 will get clubbed together to give you 1, 2, 5, 4, 4. Now cutting the zeros here, 2 zeros gone here, 1 0 gone here. So this happens to be 12544 by 10, which amounts to, let us say, 1254.40. Now, although the process was known to you, how you should have gone about doing the calculations in the case of compound interest is what you need to learn. Because this is exactly where you will save time, otherwise you end up saying that calculations in compound interest are time consuming. They are not. All right, let's have a look at another question. A sum of rupees 5,000 at 5% annual compound interest will amount to how much in 2 years? So principal is given, rate of interest is given to you, then time t is also specified. So let's make use of formula A is equal to P into 1 plus R by 100 raised to T. That's all that we need to know. So this is principal, this is the rate of interest, as you see. Now solving this, we have 5,000 into 105 by 100 into 105 by 100. That's what we have. So once again, we will balance out these zeros here. This is gone. Well, here you can cancel 5 and 10 by 2. So what you have here is a 105 square. So what do we have here? 105 is greater than 100 by how much? 5. That is the difference. So 105, add back this difference 5. You get a 110 and then take 5 square. The square of this difference, you get a 25. So you get a 11025 divided by 2. So 2 5s are 10, another 10, so 2 5s are 10, 2 1s are 2, 2 2s are 4, 0.50. So this is the amount that you get at the end of 2 years. So once again, kindly notice that you need not multiply 105 with 105. Now the other way around here would have been, some of you would have preferred calculating like 5,000 into 1 plus 1 by 20 square. So it would be 5,000 into 21 by 20, then again 21 by 20. Just look at this. 0, 0 gone. 2, it goes by 25. So you are left with 25 into 21 square, is 441 by this 2. Now then again, 25 into 1, 25 into 4, 25 into 4. Then dividing it by 2, it becomes a little cumbersome. So even if you can save 5 to 10 seconds per question, you would definitely be able to increase the number of attempts. That is why you need to know these tricks for speed maths. Next question, a sum of money doubles in 5 years at annual compound interest. Then in how many years will this sum of money become 8 times itself at the same rate of interest compounded annually? Now, you know the formula, A is equal to P into 1 plus R by 100, the standard formula. All right, applying that, you know that P is the principal, the amount becomes double that, so it becomes 2P. The rate of interest is not mentioned, let it be R, but this happens in 5 years. That is what is given to us here. Now, P and P will cancel, 2 is equal to 1 plus R by 100 raised to 5. Now, how much do you want it to become? You want it to become 8 times. So in that case, how do you get an 8 here? 2 into 2 into 2 cube. And every 2 corresponds to 1 plus R by 100 raised to 5. So this 5, 5, 5 gets added and the time duration becomes 15 years. So this is 8 times the principal and this is P anyhow, so it gets cancelled. This is what represents that the amount is 8 times the principal. And this is where we get the time duration. So in such kind of questions, you just need to exercise your common sense. In 5 years, an amount becomes double, so 2 times. In 10 years, again double of that, so 4 times. In 15 years, another 5 years, every 5 years it doubles up. So now the double of 4 is 8. So the amount will become 8 times the principal in 5 plus 5 plus 5, that is 15 years. On a sum of money in 2 years at a particular rate of annual simple interest, rupees 800 is earned as the total interest. Simple interest is rupees 800. So simple interest that would be earned in the first year would be 400, and in the second year, again it will be 400. That is why it is amounting to 800. Now we know that simple interest will remain the same for each year. Apart from that, compound interest will also remain equal to the simple interest for the first year. So the compound interest obtained in the first year is 400. Because it is for the same money in 2 years, same rate of interest. Total compound interest earned is rupees 820. So total is 820. So how much interest is being earned in the second year with respect to compound interest? This has to be 420. Now, here we are getting this 20 rupees extra when compared to the simple interest. Now, what is this 20 rupees extra? This 20 rupees extra is the interest charged on the interest obtained in the previous year. In the previous year, what was the interest obtained? 400 rupees. So on 400, this 20 rupees is obtained as the extra interest. Because 400 is obtained as interest on the principal sum. So this extra 20 rupees is the interest charged on the interest obtained in the previous year. So this 20 is what percent of 400? That's what we need to know. So it goes by 2 and this is 10. So 10 by 2, which is nothing but 5%. That would be the rate of interest. And that's exactly what we need to find out. So as you can see, for the first year, simple interest is 400, which is same as compound interest. Second year, compound interest is 420. So for the second year, the interest, compound interest charged on the interest of the previous year is rupees 20, which happens to be 5% of 400, the interest charged in the previous year. Next question, on a sum of money at 10% annual rate of interest, so R is given to us, for 2 years, so T is mentioned. The simple interest earned is rupees 4,000. So simple interest is also given to us here. On the same sum of money for 2 years, at the same rate of interest, compounded annually, how much will be the compound interest obtained? Well, there are various ways of solving this. One of the ways, as you see, is to find out the principal sum. Now, this is simple interest, which is already given to you as 4,000 here. So, you know that SI is equal to PTR by 100. So, time is 2 years, rate of interest is 10. You can find out the principal here, which you get as 20,000. Now, on this 20,000, you can calculate the compound interest by using the formula, that is amount minus principal, 1 plus 10 by 100. Maybe you can cut these zeros also and get it to 11 by 10. Take a square of that. So follow this procedure, finally arrive at 4,200. But my point here is very simple. And that is that simple interest earned for 2 years is rupees 4,000. So simple interest, compound interest. First year, at the end of the first year, the simple interest received must have been 2,000. And at the first year, and at the end of the first year, simple interest and compound interest will always be the same. At the end of the second year, simple interest earned is again 2,000, so that it amounts to a total of 4,000. As you can see, the total simple interest obtained after 2 years is 4,000. So split into 2 halves for 2 years. So 2,000 plus 2,000. Whereas compound interest, as we know, consists of 2 things. Compound interest is nothing but interest charged on principal and on previous year's interest. So as I had discussed. Now, 2,000 is given to you. 10% is the annual rate of interest. So 2,000 anyhow it is going to be. How much is 10% of 2,000? Well, 10% of 2,000 is rupees 200. So 200 extra will be obtained here. Compound interest will always be greater than simple interest when the time duration is more than a year for the same rate of interest on the same principal. So it is obtained as 4,200. That is it. You don't have to spend so much time. There is no need for formula orientation whenever you are taking any kind of a multiple choice question paper. What you got to exercise is your IQ, the clarity of concept, so that you can solve the question in no time. Now, if a sum of money becomes 2,400 in 2 years at 10% annual simple interest, so this is the amount obtained on simple interest for 2 years of duration, that is T, at 10% annual simple interest, that is R. Then how much will be the total compound interest obtained on the same sum of money for the same time duration, that is T, at the same rate of interest, that is R. So T and R are common for both. Now, there are 2 ways of solving this. First is, you know that simple interest is PTR by 100 and amount obtained through simple interest is principal plus simple interest, that is PTR by 100. So by that, this is the amount, this is principal, and this complete is simple interest. So now, by calculation, you have this cancelled by 5. So P plus P by 5 is equal to 2,400. Then you take this on the other side because this amounts to 6P by 5. So P remains here. This goes here, 5 by 6. So principal amount you find first and then put it into the formula for amount through compound interest. Now the formula for amount through compound interest is, as you know, P into 1 plus R by 100 raised to 2. Now by doing all this, you arrive at 2,420. Now once again, I would like to state that you can use a particular reasoning here and solve this question much more faster. See, it should strike to you that in 2 years, if you're getting an amount of 2,400 at 10%, well, principal has to be 2,000. Because 10% of 2000 is 200. And simple interest, if we need to find out, see 200, 200. Both the years taken together, it is 400 plus the principal amount, we will get 2400. Now let us talk about compound interest. 200, well, both are same, simple interest and compound interest in the first year, at the end of the first year. Now next, rate of interest is 10%, so plus 10% here. Anyhow, you will get 200 here, plus 10% of 200, that is 20, so 220. So you will end up getting 420. So 420, when you are adding to this 2000, the amount obtained here is 2420. It is very, very simple actually for you to reach to 2000. 2400 is the amount that you get at 10% rate of interest. So you can play around with these numbers and gauge that 400 is the total simple interest obtained in 2 years. So 200 you can easily get in every year, which is 10% of 2000. So likewise, this is the much more faster approach as compared to the age-old formula-based methods. Now, on a sum of money P in 2 years at R% annual rate of interest, the difference between compound interest and simple interest earned is PR square by 100 square, a very important formula. So for 2 years, if you need to find out the difference between compound interest and simple interest, you can use the formula PR square by 100 square. That's it. Now, let us apply this formula in a question that follows. What will be the difference between compound interest and simple interest earned on rupees 50,000, which is P, at 4% annual rate of interest, that is R, for 2 years, which is T. So again, you have the formula, and that is PR square by 100 square. Substituting in that, P, this is R square, R is 4%, and 100 square here. So 100 square, 4 zeros, they will cancel here, as you can see. 4 square is 16, and 16 into 5, you have rupees 80. That would be the difference. Now, similarly, you could be asked a question pertaining to the difference between compound interest and simple interest for 3 years. And in such a case, you already know for 2 years, the formula is PR square by 100 square. That is the difference between compound interest and simple interest for 2 years. Now, if you want to find out for 3 years, this is something additional that you would write here, and that is 300 plus R by 100. You just multiplying these two. So in such a case, you arrive at a formula PR square into 300 plus R by 100 cube. This 100 square is being multiplied with this 100. Okay, and that is the formula to find out the difference between compound interest and simple interest for 3 years. Now let us solve a question which is based on this. So what will be the difference between compound interest and simple interest earned on rupees 50,000? That is P, 4%, that is R, 3 years, that is T. So we already are aware of this formula. This is P, this is R square, all right? This is 300 plus R, and this is 100. Now you just need to resolve this. So we just cancel 200s here. This is 5 left over, 4 square, add 16, 300 plus 4, 304, and this left over 100. That is it. So this is 304 by 100, which is 3.04. Simple multiplication should give you the difference here as 243.2. So you can always make use of this formula for questions which are based on finding out the difference between compound interest and simple interest for 3 years. The next question, find out that sum of money on which the annual compound interest earned at 10%. So this is R for the second year, 660. So it's quite simple. If it is 10% at 660, only thing that you need to do is 660 by 1.1. So you get your interest charged in the first year as 600. That is the interest charged in the first year. If this is 600, which is 10% of how much? Obviously, 600 is 10% of 6,000. I mean, why do you even need to do some calculation here? This is something that you can state as a statement. Right. So, the answer that you will get here is 6,000. Otherwise, you can look here, 660. So, the first year is 600, as I have explained. So, this 600 is 10% of the sum. So, by doing this calculation, principal here is such that 600 rupees is 10% of the principal amount. So, 600 into 100 by 10, you get the principal amount as 6,000. So, as it is, 600 is 10% of 6,000, right? So, just by verbal calculation, there is no calculation also involved. So, my point here is try to write as less as possible while doing rough work. Try to do all these calculations and reason them out in your mind. The lesser you write, the more will be your speed, which means more will be the number of attempts, which means a better chance to qualify in the paper. Next question, if a sum of money becomes rupees 7350 in 2 years, the sum of money is not known, but the amount obtained after 2 years is 7350 and becomes 8575 in 3 years, then what will be that sum of money and the rate of interest compounded annually? Now see, the difference between the amount obtained at the end of third year and at the end of the second year is nothing, but it is the simple interest on 7350. So what I'm trying to say is that the amount obtained at the end of the second year, it becomes the principal for the third year. Similarly, the amount obtained at the end of the third year would become the principal for the fourth year. Now, that's what happens whenever we are solving a question which is based on compound interest. Simple interest, we can always calculate for any of the years. So let us say my principal at the end of the second year is 7350. So how much is the interest charged? If I'm taking the principal as 7350, then the interest charge here is rupees 1225. The difference between the amount obtained at the end of the third year and the amount obtained at the end of the second year. So simple interest is known to you. You can say that this is a simple interest. Now you know that SI is equal to PTR by 100. So this is your SI, this is P, this is time, 1 year. Rate of interest is what we are supposed to find out. So just by doing these calculations, as you can see, we get the rate of interest as 16.67%, 50 by 3%. So now we just need to substitute this here in the formula for amount obtained so that we can calculate the principal. We already know 7350 is obtained at the end of second year. So principal is what we are supposed to find out. Rate of interest, we have taken it as 50 by 3. So 50 by 3 by 100 becomes 50 by 300. Just resolving this, you can always solve it here. This is 6, so this becomes 7 by 6. So here we can do these calculations like 7350 is equal to P into 7 into 7 by 6 into 6. So this figure goes by 7. 7 ones are 7. 0, 7 fives are 35. So 1050 goes by another 7. So that is 7 ones are 7. So 35. So 150. So what you have is P is equal to 150 into 36. So 36 into 5 is 180. So 18 left. So 36 into 1 is 36 plus 18. So you get a 5400 here. That is the principal sum, which amounts to 7350 in 2 years and 8575 in 3 years. The next question, find out the individual investments made by A and B out of a combined investment of rupees 1301, such that the amount obtained on A's investment after 7 years is equal to the amount obtained on B's investment after 9 years. at 4% annual rate of compound interest. Now here the investment made is a combined investment of A and B together. So let us say that A invests rupees X, then obviously B will invest the remaining money out of 1301, which will be 1301 minus X, minus the A's amount. Now, this is the total amount, 1301. X is the investment made by A, and 1301 minus X is the investment made by B. Now, it is given that amount obtained on A's investment after 7 years. So amount we know is nothing but P into 1 plus R by 100 raised to T, which here is 4% common in both the cases. The investments made by A and B are at 4%. So this is 1 plus 4 by 100 raised to 7, and this is the principal amount here for B into 1 plus 4 by 100 raised to 9. So obviously when you just look at this, and if you cancel this, let us say, this is 1 by 25, this is 1 by 25, this becomes X into 26 by 25 raised to 7, which is equal to 1301 minus X into 26 by 25 raised to 9. Now this is 9 years, this is 7 years, and the amount obtained is the same. Now these two figures, right, when this goes down, it becomes 9 minus 7. So hence you have a 2 here. The powers balance. So 1301 minus X into 26 by 25 is what we are left with. Now resolving this 25 square, you know, is 625. This 26 square, you know, is 676. It will go here, become 625x. So 1301 minus X into 676 is what we will be left with. So when we open this, we get 625x is equal to 1301 into 676 minus 676x. Now, nothing to be afraid of. We'll just take it to the other side. So now we get 625x plus 676x. 676 into 1301. Resolving this, 625 plus 676 is again 1301, which cancels here. So X, which is the amount invested by A, is rupees 676, which when reduced from 1301 amounts to 625. So A here has invested 676 for 7 years at 4% rate of interest, and B has invested 625 for 9 years at 4%. So we needed to find out the individual investments. These two might be given to you amongst the choices. So I don't deny there could be a question wherein you need to calculate. But still, wherever you can save time, please make sure that you do. Till now, the questions that we have seen, the compound interest has been compounded annually. Now, what happens if the compound interest is charged half yearly or quarterly? Now, in such a case, if the rate of interest is compounded half yearly, then this is the only change that we need to make. It is half yearly, that is twice in a year. In such a case, rate of interest becomes half and time duration doubles. So this is 2t, time duration from t has become 2t, and rate of interest from r has become half, that is r by 2. Now similarly, if you have to find out for quarterly, let us say it is compounded quarterly, then it means the interest is calculated 4 times in a year. Then rate of interest becomes 1/4 and the time becomes 4 times. That's all that you need to do. So half Yearly means rate of interest R by 2, but time period T is doubled, 2T. Quarterly, which is 1/4, so rate of interest becomes 1/4, and this 4 gets multiplied to time duration, so the time duration becomes 4 times. So this is R by 4 and 4T, as I explained to you. Let's solve a question which is based on this. On rupees 10,000 at 10% rate of interest compounded half yearly. Now what is this 10,000? This is principal, 12% rate of interest. So R half yearly. So we have to take R by 2 and 2T, all right, while using the formula. How much amount will be obtained after 1 year? So amount, as you know, is P into 1 plus R by 2 by 100 in this case, raised to 2T. So the principal is given here, that is 10,000. Rate of interest was 12%, all right, and half of that would be 6%. Time was 1 year, so double of that, it becomes 2 years. So we have 2 years here. That's it. So just that you need to substitute these values in the formula. See, now, what do we have here? This is 10,000 into 106 by 100 into 106 by 100. See now here, if at all you want, you could have cancelled these out. 6. So 2 3s are, then this is 50. So this becomes 53 by 50. That would increase the calculation. As I have told you, it is more than 100, so 106 into 106. We already know how to find out the square of 106, a number which is greater than 100 but near to 100. You take the difference from 100, it is 6. So you add the 6 back to 106, you get a 112, and then towards the end, last 2 digits would be represented by the square of this difference, that is 36. So 11236 is what we get here. So this is cancelling these zeros here. So 11236 is the amount that you will obtain at the end of the year, that is 11,236. So we have discussed various concepts pertaining to compound interest and how we could have solved such questions by doing faster calculations. Now keep on practicing and try to master all these shortcuts that I have explained to you today. We will meet again in another session, discuss another topic. Till then, I wish you all the best and thank you so much.